Awesome. Well, thank you for everyone who's joined this evening and is interested in learning more about the Simon Games and hearing from some of the past competitors. We have two previous winners, one in the professional program and one in the executive program, and two prior finalists as well. We're going to go through and just ask them a couple questions. We'll first allow them to introduce themselves and then ask them a few questions. And after we get those questions out of the way, we'll be opening it up for anyone who has a question. And if you would just, you can just direct those questions, either just preferably just drop them right in the chat, and you can either directly message me or go through and message them to everyone. So I will start. My name is Joe Sayer. I'm the Associate Director of Recruitment here at the Simon Business School. That means I'm responsible for recruiting for our Executive MBA, Professional MBA, and Masters of Medical Management program. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. And we are going to go around and have everyone introduce themselves. And we'll start with Amanda Raymond.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Amanda, and my background is in industrial design and marketing, but getting my MBA at Simon has helped me position myself more into business strategy. So I am currently the Chief Business Officer at Care Value. We're a leader in innovative Medicare enrollment solutions and a field marketing organization. Afternoon or evening.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. Heather, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Sure. So my name is Heather Wilhauska. I am a second year PMBA student, and I'm also a senior analyst for the Simon School Venture Fund. By day, I work in marketing at a commercial financial services firm headquartered here in Rochester, First American Equipment Finance. And my background is entirely in marketing. So I worked at agencies locally prior, managing and executing B2B marketing strategies. So I have really learned so much from the Simon Games and as I continue on in the program currently. So thank you for having me. I'm excited to share my experiences so far.
Awesome. Thank you. Eric, do you mind introducing yourself?
My name is Eric Gohler. I'm the current marketing director at Enrolling. We're a local positioning, navigation, and timing technology company. We make really cool stuff that makes the world safer. I've worn a lot of hats through my career. I did my undergrad in computer science. I worked for New York State for about a decade, took a few runs at startups, and slowly gave way to the creative calling in my brain to get into marketing. Was fortunate enough to win the EMBA pool in the 2018 Simon Games, graduated the program in 2020, and I recommend it and the program to everybody who will listen to me.
And thank you for being here, Eric, and thank you for recommending it. I always see you posting about the program, and I know you're a huge advocate for Simon. Juan, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. My name is Hyun Won, and I'm currently part-time MBA student at Simon, just finishing up this year. And also during the day, I'm also the logistics analyst for Kodak. And my background is mainly in operations, a little bit of purchasing as well before that. But through this program right now, I'm actually focusing my efforts into more marketing and strategy. So that's hopefully finishing up soon.
Awesome. Perfect. And as we get into the questions, I'm going to turn my camera off so it just focused on the four of the panelists. The first question I'll pose to Amanda, and then we'll just go around the room and get answers from each one of you. So why did you participate in the Simon Games?
Well, I would say a primary driver was definitely monetary. I had been considering going back for my graduate degree for probably 2 years, but it was a major expense to undertake, and I wanted to make sure it was the right decision. So, what better way to earn a scholarship is through a fun game. So I thought, why not? What do I have to lose? Also, it was a great way to prove to myself that I was ready to undertake that kind of commitment. And it definitely gave me a better understanding of what I was getting myself into. So I guess a couple different reasons there, but all in all, once I got into it, it was so much fun.
Awesome, thank you. Eric, would you mind sharing why you participated in the Simon Games?
Yeah, it's insane not to. In my year, it was, I think, a 1 in 30 shot to win an education that would otherwise cost $100,000. That's better odds than any lottery or raffle or subreddit that you could find. So definitely, if you're even close to considering it, try it. You'll get a great sense of your fit for the program, and you have insane odds to at least win some assistance towards the program, or not the whole thing.
Awesome. Heather, would you mind sharing why you participated?
Yeah, so I definitely share the same reasons. I was like Amanda, I always thought about going back, but I also always thought about the financial implications, and the Simon Games was the easiest way to remove that obstacle for myself. And also echoing Eric's comment, you get a good sense of the game and what the program will be like. And worst case scenario is, I thought through, was I'm going to maybe lose the initial fee and a couple weeks of my time, but truly the worst case scenario is that you had the opportunity to learn more about yourself. And I thought that was, great in the end, and better than doing nothing. So yeah.
Awesome. And last but not least, Juan, will you go?
Sure. I actually found out about the Simon Games program by actually first initially applying to the matriculated program. So that's where you start out by taking 1 or 2 classes at Simon, see if this is a good fit for you. And when I was through that program, Janet, who's currently the Diversity and Inclusion Officer at Simon, recommended that I try out this competition called Simon Games, because I knew that the financials was definitely a big concern of mine. So I ended up going through it, and I also took it as like a challenge as well. Like, is this Simon program right fit for me as well? And going through that entire program was amazing. And honestly, if I didn't have that opportunity, I have no idea where I'll be right now.
Awesome, thank you. And now we have the question of, why did you end up enrolling in the MBA program? And that question may be a little easier for those that won the Simon Games, because it was 100% tuition scholarship. But Eric, I'd still like to start with you. I know why you participated in the Simon Games, but why did you still decide to go through the MBA program, and what was your interest in an MBA right off the get-go?
So at the time I was 38, and you get to a certain point in your career where you're sort of stuck. In my case, it was stuck in middle management, and it felt like there was some secret formula to getting into the whatever cabal of directors and C-suite people there is. Like, there isn't. They just know more. Like, they just have the bigger picture view on business, and that's what I was hoping to get out of this, was that this would be this this missing link in my career, and it was. I mean, the engagement and satisfaction that I get from my career now, just from work now, is much better.
Awesome, thank you. Heather, would you mind sharing why you enrolled in the program?
Sure. So yes, I was a finalist, so I didn't get the full scholarship, but I still wanted to continue my learning. I was 7-8 years out of undergrad and knew I wanted to continue on in my career. And, there's lots of options out there now, it feels like, for learning with cert classes or MOOC or master class. And I've done a handful of those, but, I ultimately decided that I wanted an experience that it was more of an experiential learning, and not just sitting there and listening to a webinar and moving on with my day. And I knew the Simon program could give me that, deep dive into group projects and working with people that didn't think like me. And it also offered an opportunity to really trial how you can implement the things that you're learning in a low risk environment with resources and support with everyone around you. So it just gave me that opportunity that I was looking for to grow not only professionally, but personally. And that's ultimately something that no one can take away from you. You carry that with you for the rest of your life. So for me, the financial piece of it was, of course, part of you that, tenfold, I would see a return on this investment.
Awesome. Thank you. Amanda, would you mind sharing why you decided to enter the program?
Yeah, Eric and Heather's answers both resonate with me. I was a finalist as well, so I did receive some scholarship and that allowed me to attend, but also I felt like I was at a point in my career where I'd plateaued and I was looking for something to jumpstart or propel me to that next level in my career to continue my advancement. But separately, after participating in the games, I was kind of hooked. It really was a lot of fun, and it sparked so much life in me. I just thought, well, now I'm in it and I can't stop. But separately, when I think about myself personally, the school has such a great reputation, not only nationally, but regionally. Me and my husband moved back to New York State. We plan to retire here. There's a great alumni network here. So it's really great for the community. You meet so many people, and through those connections, it can only help to further your career.
Awesome. Juan, same question.
Sure. As one of the winners for 2018 for the part-time program, I knew that I was a good fit for Simon just by going through the challenge and understanding and learning through the simulation as well. But I think what really what I wanted, or why I wanted to enroll in Simon specifically, was one of the judges said during the presentation at the end, he stumped me with a question about exit strategy. And I mean, I've heard about exit strategy before, but he was explaining how I didn't have to have the right answer at that moment, because through this program, once I apply and go through it, I will not only understand exit strategy, but have a better big picture, have a better understanding of how businesses operate, how they should make decisions, strategize, build their brand, portfolio. And through all of that, I realized that Simon was not only testing and more or less doing like a informal competition interview with all of the participants, but it's also a way to show that, hey, these are all these other things that Simon can provide you that you're missing, that you already know that you're missing, and really propel you into the professional world. And I really saw that. I knew that that definitely resonated with me, because I've been stuck in that day-to-day operations through my career, and I wanted to take that step up to that managerial decision-making process, that strategy, that executive role that was leading companies, that was directly listening to the customers and really making a difference in the world. And I knew that Simon MBA was definitely the fastest way to do it.
Awesome. And since you kind of touched on this in your answer about what you thought you were going to get out of the MBA program, we'll start back with you with what have you gotten out of the program so far? And I know you're still in it and getting ready to finish up here. But what have you seen as the benefits of the program for you?
Well, I can talk about my, I guess, biggest experience. Most recently, I took a took a class in brand strategy with Deb, and it was a fantastic class. You work as a team for an intense 8 weeks with a local business that was honestly looking for a solution through their COVID pandemic. And obviously, this is a very real life situation, very dynamic, and there was no correct answer per se, but just having that experience to apply everything that you've learned through the program about marketing, about strategy, a little bit of pricing decisions, and then a little bit of financials as well, and applying that all singularly kind of brings it all together. And really, I understood that this is something that I definitely wanted to do. I've reached that point where I can help this company make those decisions and strategy to go on forward, and look at all these things that I've learned, especially marketing and finance and strategy, that I'm applying here today, right now in a real life situation. And not only was I really I guess, proud of that, but also surprised that I've really met that goal that I've set for myself in the beginning. It was really, really fascinating and eye-opening.
Awesome. Thank you. Amanda, I'll toss that question over to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, to put it lightly, it led to my dream job. I left this program and really was able to pivot pretty quickly. The individuals I had been working with throughout my degree had saw the transformation within me, and they created a position just for me so that I could continue to grow at that company. And I mean, besides that, it also led to a really great network of friends and peers. So you're going to leave this with a lot of great relationships that you can rely on, you can bounce ideas off of. But it really did rewire how I approach problems. So from a business strategy standpoint, you really walk away with the fundamentals for all departments within an organization, and you're able to communicate effectively with everybody, whether it's on a financial, a marketing basis, an operations, on the operations side. So you're completely rewired when you leave.
Awesome. Thank you. Eric, I will toss it over to you.
So it gave me the confidence to approach anyone in any area of my company and be able to connect dots. I didn't realize before how many of those dots go unconnected in the day-to-day operations of a business until I went through the program. So now I go to work every day and it sort of feels like a game where you can find opportunities to solve meaningful problems, and you've got the skills and the confidence to actually do it. It helped me to be more collaborative, forced me to work with teams through some really difficult assignments. You get to interface with world-class professors from around the world. We had a professor that flew across the Atlantic every other weekend just to teach us. Like, it's just crazy. These are some of the most brilliant people you're ever going to interact with, and you could do way worse than to learn from them. I got to go on a once-in-a-lifetime trip to South Africa just before the world lockdown. And the next time I try anything, whether it's a new job, another run at a startup, I'm going to be so much better prepared than I was before this.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'll share, I'm an executive MBA student, and that same professor Eric was talking about during COVID was teaching us at, I think, about 2 a.m. his time. So he was on Zoom via COVID. And so our faculty members here at Simon are definitely very committed to the success of our students. So now we'll jump into some of the questions that we've seen here in the chat. So some of the questions I'll pose to the panel, and other questions I'll just answer briefly. We do offer other scholarship opportunities outside of when you achieve a finalist in the Simon Games. So outside of the 2 100% scholarships, by being a finalist in the games, you do qualify for more enhanced scholarship opportunities. And what I mean by that is our typical Simon student in the executive and professional programs probably comes in somewhere around 15 to 20% on their merit-based scholarships in just by applying to the program. And that is dependent on a holistic review of their application. However, with Simon Games, you definitely have access to scholarships that are higher than that. Well, I can't give a solid range because that very much is dependent on you as a person and your performance. You definitely have access. Now, a great question here that I see for the panel would be, can you take us through your game journey? The failures, mistakes, and learning curves you experienced. And now don't try to talk like too specifically to situations you may have faced. Though, granted, we are in a new simulation that's a little more expanded, so it wouldn't hurt that much. But I'd love to get Eric. We'll start with you. So can you talk a little bit about your journey while playing the games?
Yeah, read every bit of material you can. They offer you these big. I don't know if the game now is similar, but it offers you a pretty big help file. And help files, traditionally, you just kind of breeze past them. You're like, I'll look up stuff when I need it. Read the help file. Read every bit of information that they give you, because it's all valuable, and try to measure everything you can too. That was my approach, and always think, don't be afraid to take risks. I don't know what the structure is now, but we only had, I think, 8 decision rounds. So you don't have a lot of opportunity. You only have, you're playing a game where you only have 8 moves really. And there's combinations within those 8 moves, but it's 8 turns. So you have to win the game in 8 turns. So think about those things, and just don't, like I said, don't, it's not the time to be, to play conservatively, or you can play how you want, but you don't have a lot of opportunity and a lot of time. That's what I'd say.
Awesome. Heather, would you mind sharing?
Sure. Yeah. So, I guess echoing the take risks, one of the mistakes that I made was in that practice round. I was very conservative, and I think I was in like second to last place in my group. So then when the real games came around, I was very strategic in the decisions that I was making. And, I thought through how I should spend my time, and spending my time wisely to find the highest activities that'll pay off. In the beginning, I spent probably far too much time designing the logo. And I was like, because I'm in marketing, right? I'm like, I'm going to design this beautiful logo. And I was like, well, that didn't end up getting me any points. And I was like, it looked great in the presentation at the end, but I recognized that in the practice room. I was like, I shouldn't have spent so much time on that logo. So, so understanding where your time needs to go, because that was one of my biggest lessons throughout the games for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Amanda?
Yeah, I felt like a contributing factor to the success for me was setting clear objectives for every round. So really reviewing what went well and what didn't, and going, well, for this next round, I want to accomplish these goals. But then also take a little bit of, psychology into play. Think about who you're playing against and how they're doing, and kind of try to anticipate their moves as well. Just like you would for your competitors at your own business, you think about what they might do in that market scenario. And I think that you can kind of extrapolate and create a really good long-term strategy. So not only think about those individual objectives every move, but think about where you want to be at the end as well.
For me, I normally don't keep like a diary of sorts or a journal, but I definitely did one for the Simon Games. Each round, I'm listing out what kind of decisions I'm making, why I'm making them, and then also like what I hope to see out of it, just to kind of keep myself centered on the strategy that I had, and also kind of center myself on where I was going, because halfway through, if you're not keeping track of what you're doing, you almost get lost by, you're almost inundated by the number of different options that you have and the choices that you have to make. So just having like a little diary of, oh, I made all these decisions and this is what I wanted to do. So this is the type of decisions I should make in going forward. And that really helped out a lot. And I think the other really important thing was analyzing your competition, understand what they're trying to guess what they're due, and instead of being reactive to the situation, be proactive, kind of look out ahead, at least try to see one step forward, and try to make decisions that weren't, I guess, dependent on your customers. Be really grounded in your strategy, and then keep going forward, rather than, oh, since that person was trying to do that, I should try to avoid them, or I should compete against them. No, it's more about you and your individual performance. I mean, your competition matters, but it's really about how you take your strategy forward. It shouldn't be about, I should do something because they did it. No, it should be about you.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'll let you answer the next question as well. And we will rotate this around the panel, because I'm sure everyone has a different answer to this. But what would you say your time commitment was to between the start and finish of the game?
I think I dedicated a solid at least 2 to 3 hours a day, at least. Like after work, I would come in and check the status, or even during lunch hour, I just log on and check, hey, how did I do last night through that decision round? But definitely, even throughout the day, even during the work day, whenever you get a break, you're kind of like keep mulling over ideas in your head, your decisions, or how you did, what you're gonna do for it, and then really finalize your decisions in that last 2 to 3 hours after work. Definitely during the presentation round, I put a ton of hours. It was either work, and so I basically did work, eat, sleep, and presentation for that last week or two. That was a lot of practice, a lot of time.
Heather, would you mind sharing your experience?
Yeah, I had a very similar experience. I would say probably 10 to 15 hours a week. You know, it was depending on where the decision days fell. And also same thing, you know, just because you made it into the top 10 and you're going to the presentation round, the game's not over. And I put in even more time into the presentation and made sure that you know, just all the way through the end. So yeah, I'd say about 10 to 15 and then maybe a little bit extra in the last week of that.
Awesome. Eric?
Roughly the same as everybody. I don't know what this waiting until break stuff was. I was like 10 o'clock whenever you released it, or Josh released it. I was like hitting refresh in my mail. Yeah, it becomes an obsession, especially if you like games at all, in board games, anything. If you're at all competitive, you're going to become obsessed with it. But the presentation week especially, yeah, I don't know if I slept, but the games itself, 2 to 3 hours a night was a good gauge for the program. That's about what I put in most of the program too.
Yeah.
Amanda, anything different? Anything you'd like to add? How was your time experience?
Same thing. I was completely addicted and refreshing, logging in. I'm sure those login files for my user were pretty long. I was in there as much as I could, thinking about it throughout the day. Even when I was working, I was thinking about it. So it was like having a part-time job. So, and yes, the presentations, I do have one bit of advice: practice, you know, make somebody listen to you, get in front of them or get on a call, you know, do a Zoom. Practice, be embarrassed, do stupid things, try it out, because get it all out of your system, because once you get in front, it'll feel a lot better.
Awesome, thank you. Another question that was asked that I'll answer is: the work on the game independent, or are you working with other schedules? It is completely independent. You will be, you're competing against fellow competitors. During the game one portion, you're just playing against the computer, and there is that how you perform in game one doesn't affect if you make it to the final round. And then in game two, you're randomly put in pods of 4 to 6 other people, where their decisions affect you, your decisions affect them, and it's just like a real world marketplace. Mm-hmm. Another question that was asked was about your backgrounds going before you decided to join the games, and I believe you all worked in business type settings, but I'm not quite sure what your undergraduate degrees. Heather, can you share a little bit about your background before you join the games, and if anything that the MBA's done to maybe change that background, change things for you since then? So.
Sure. My undergrad was in PR and business, and you know, I was purely marketing, and you know, so that is some facet of business, right? But you know, this question resonated with me because I'm thinking about the people that I've worked with in groups. You know, the class is so diverse from a background perspective. There are teachers, nurses, doctors, engineers. There's so many people that bring such a diverse set of skills and experiences that I wouldn't say not having a business background limits you. And you know, they're just as successful, and they, you know, really excel in the program as well. So,
Eric, would you mind sharing a little bit about your background? Because I believe you came from engineering a little bit. So.
Yeah, I had a computer science undergrad, worked for M&T Bank for a little, New York State for a while, doing computer stuff, and a few startups, which are laughable.
So I was remembering how I was doing then, and I didn't actually realize until at the very end that out of the business simulation, the scores turned out that me and another person in my same pod, we were the top 2 scores overall. So kind of take that as you will, but just because someone else is doing better than you in your pod doesn't mean that you're doing badly overall. You can succeed together. I mean, you can also fail together too, but but don't be dismayed if you fall behind or make a mistake. There are 8 rounds for a reason, and you can make it up, you can catch up, and you can really make a comeback at the end if you really wanted to.
And I think that's one of the things that is very important. And Eric mentioned like some people kind of give up partway through. You're really leaving a lot on the table, like a lot of meat on the bone by doing that, because you can make a very strong comeback as you continue going forward through the game. Especially the stakes are only getting higher and higher the further along you're in the game, because you're managing a company for 2 years. So your company is expanding and growing, hopefully that entire time. Amanda, any thoughts on that question? Or
I mean, as success for me was pre-planning. I feel like I spent the most time in the very beginning and at the very end. If you lay out a plan for all decisions before the first one even comes into play, I feel like that was helpful for me. And then, so what Eric said, all hands off, throw everything you got in there, because I'm sure some of your other players will do the same. So you've got nothing to lose.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions this evening? I don't see any more in the chat.
Hi, this is Shangari. I'm B2B marketing specialist at eBay. I have a quick question. So during this game, is there any key performance matrices that you guys measure, or like what are the important milestones that we need to prepare, or anything that we can prepare in advance that would be very helpful in the game?
So I'll touch on this question just so no one gives up too much information, but I think the biggest thing that you can do to prepare in advance for the games is kind of what a few members of the panel have touched on this evening is once that game 1 opens, download and read that help file. That's going to be the best thing that you can do to prepare. And I mean, it's like a textbook, so it's not something that you can just read in an hour. At least not from what I remember. I played the game once against Josh. We both did poorly and didn't read the help file because it was so thick, and we didn't have any real dog in the fight. Is neither of us were competing, and we were just competing against each other. So just reading that help file would be the thing that I would recommend most to prepare for the games. And also then I think blocking out time for your time from a time management perspective. You've heard from all 4 of the panelists this evening on how long that they spent in the games, and these are all four people who performed extremely well in the games. So that is the time commitment that is most likely necessary to perform strongly. So thank you for that question.
And I would just add that with the help file, download all of the Excel files that come out of this game, and create your own spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet with multiple tabs of all of the data, and do, like to Amanda's point, doing all of that upfront work and digging into the data, that'll help you, and using that practice round to go through that information and, you know, the trial and error of the different levers. I think that will just help build your comfort and confidence with the game when it comes to the round that matters.
Awesome.
Awesome. And as for the performance metrics that they measure your score on, the game does tell you everything that you need to know on how they calculate the score. So you don't have to be confused on if it's like a vague score that they give you at the end. It tells you how they calculate it and all the different metrics that they look at. So don't be too concerned about that.
Awesome. Any other questions? Feel free to speak up. All righty. Well, it appears that we are all questioned out. I would like love. What did you say?
Can we ask them a question?
Sure, sure. Go for it. Eric's going to ask you a question. You can
I'm
respond in the chat or feel free to unmute.
What do they all hope to get out of an MBA, or what are any fears or hesitations you might have about taking on the program? Whether it's time, whether it's skill gap, what's going through your head as you're weighing whether to do this or not, that brought you to this webinar?
Well, I have an engineering background that went back for my master's, and I'm just very unversed in the business world, though it interests me, you know. So I'd like to gain more knowledge and introduce myself to that realm.
You say the business world, and that's it. So you sound like you were like, because I had like engineering was where I was headed most of my career, and then like this fear of the business world, I realized it's all in, like, business is this weird vague concept that feels like it's unattainable, but when you get into it, you realize business is just the connection of everything. Like, we took classes in Amanda, help me if I missed one, but marketing, statistics, operations, like just figuring out how to make a factory work more efficiently, and where bottlenecks and assembly lines are. Like, it's crazy how many areas business encompasses, and engineering is part of that. So like, if there's any, like, if like you've got a foot in the door, and all of your teammates, I don't know if they pair you like this intentionally with your teams, pool you, but you have a pretty diverse skill set. We thankfully had somebody from First American who had an accounting, his wife was in accounting, so we had some good accounting assistants, but you'll have a pool of people in the program that will help you through that stuff.
And to answer Eric's comment, the teams are we go through a lot of effort putting those teams together with the goal of providing a very diverse background. And for the executive MBA, you'll be on that study team that you're placed with at orientation for your entirety of the 15 core classes of the program. For the professional MBA program, we know you'll be on the team for the first, right after orientation, that first term, first semester that happens after that. But after then, you may be on different teams due to that's the beauty of the flexibility of the professional MBA program, is not everyone's going to be taking the same classes, because you only have to take 9 core classes where you have 11 electives, including your project course. And you're not all on the same schedule. Some people take 2 classes at a time. Some take 1. Some take 0. So we are very intentional about the diversity of background with our study teams. And that's personally my favorite part of the program. I think my growth has been due to my study team significantly.
And I see a couple people mention time in the chat. Amanda, how quickly did the time go by? How quickly did the 2 years go by? It feels like it's a lot when you're going through it, but it is a blip in your career.
No, it sometimes in the moment it's extremely stressful, and if you have a family or or other priorities, it is tough to juggle, but I would say there really wasn't a time where I didn't look forward to doing the work because it was interesting, it was engaging. I could see it of impacting my everyday at my position. Like I could go in and I was approaching things completely different just because of the homework I did the previous night. So it was paying off the next day. That was a scary component for me, but it's gonna go by so quickly. You won't looking back, you're gonna be glad you did. You're gonna look upon it with fondness.
And I think to echo that too, being in the program still currently, yeah, sometimes the days do feel like decades and it's long for sure. But once you get past those core classes, you can also really balance out the electives that you're taking. And maybe you take a really heavy quant class with a more qualitative project-based class, and you can find ways to make it work in your schedule if you want to stick to the 2 years. You know, I also at one point had a conversation with my advisor where I was like, I think I need to drop down to one class. I have so much going on. Is that possible? And, there is flexibility, at least in the part-time program, to scale back, even just for 1 term or 2 terms or just the summer, and to find ways to make it work for you, and those are all options that I explored, in the middle of the program too. So the time thing is a major component, but I think there's ways to work through that.
And like we all said before, this Simon Games competition is a really good gauge of how much time you'll be spending in the program. Definitely, it feels like there was a similar amount of effort and time that I spent on the Simon Games versus how much I spent on classes and homework and studying. So if you are able to commit that time here, then I can guarantee you that you can also make that kind of similar effort and time in the MBA program.
And it's cyclical. It depends on where your classes are, what class you're taking, your own personal aptitudes. Like if you're an accountant, your accounting classes are probably going to take you less time than maybe someone with a marketing background or a background that's very far from accounting. And that can also be vice versa for if you're a marketing background, your marketing classes may take less effort and less time than someone that comes from an accounting background. And it's going to ebb and flow throughout the year, and it also depends on what you're trying to get out of the program. And what I mean by that is deciding if you're trying to just be a straight A student, because that's going to take significantly more time than being willing to not be as concerned about your grades. It's making the decision between spending an extra 2 or 3 hours to get a couple extra points to get that A versus not spending that time because you still do understand everything you've learned. So that's a decision you have to make within yourself. That's also a decision that comes a lot with your team. For example, I'm on a team where one of my teammates, their work reimbursement is dependent on their grades. So I know that with team projects, I'm going to put a lot more effort into it because I don't want to cost my teammate dollars. And so that's part of what you work out through the team charter process that you go through as your orientation, where you kind of like build the expectations for your team. Mm-hmm. And Molly Mesko, our executive director of the program, mentioned in the chat, you find that you become incredibly efficient with your time as well. So by the end of it, you're working at a much higher level and in higher speed. At least that's been my experience as well, and I see everyone nodding along with that too. And then I see some fears about the financial fear is a big concern. That's definitely understandable. I think a lot of us going into the program had similar concerns. And that is the beauty of Simon Games. It gives you that opportunity to potentially earn 100% tuition scholarship so that those concerns are alleviated, or otherwise qualify for enhanced scholarships. So at least you are getting some more help and can make some of the ROI decisions that you may have to make going into the program.
I'll also add, I recognizing full well that I'm lucky enough to have won, but even knowing what I know now, if I could go back in time, I absolutely would pay for the program. Myself and everybody, Amanda, almost everybody in our class has gotten a promotion, increase in raise at work, or starting their own business, either during the program or immediately after. I mean, and you've got the numbers on that, Joe. I know that there's some average salary bump that everybody sees after the program. It offsets almost immediately.
Awesome. Any other questions, or Eric, do you want to pose any more questions to the group?
I just want to understand the customer pain points. I'm a marketer.
Well, awesome. Thank you everyone for attending. Does any of the panelists want to share any last parting thoughts about the program, about the games, or do you feel like you've said what you wanted to say? And I'll just open it up here.
Good luck.
Yes, good luck.
Good luck.
Go for it.
Absolutely win.
Have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, if you spend $75 on something and it turns out as you don't like it, I mean, that's a really, really cheap mistake to do, I guess. Yeah, just go for it.
That's a great way to look at that. Like, some people just spend that on a Friday night out. Well, pre-COVID, but awesome. Well, thank you again for everyone to take the time out of their evening to join. A huge thank you to the panelists for taking the time to join, especially those two that are also still in the program, because I do know that you have even more limited time. I'm looking forward to graduating in 3 months and getting a big portion of my life back, but also seeing what's next in the future. So thank you everyone for joining. If you have any questions about any part of the process, I did drop my contact information in the chat. And this video will also be for access on our Simon Games Facebook page if you want to refer back to it in the future as well. And I think we'll try to figure out a way to put it up on YouTube. I'll be deferring to Josh for that because he is he's the wizard at that. So thank you all again, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.